Hey guys, welcome to a new vlog. If you are returning back to my channel, welcome back and thank you for your continued support. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I really appreciate you giving me a chance and checking my channel out for the first time. So today, similar to the last video I filmed, is a little bit unpredictable weather-wise. We've had rain, cloudiness, and sunshine all together so far today. And as of right now, I do hear the birds chirping outside and the sun has come out. So I'm really hoping that that continues for the remainder of our filming time together today. And on the subject of birds, we have a gazebo on our deck and the birds love to build their nests in the four corners of the gazebo right beneath the roof. And right now we have an active nest that's been built there. And I'm not sure what type of bird has built it. However, my husband has said that he's seen cardinals flying in and out. So that would be really cool if we had a cardinal nest. I need to look it up and see if I can find photos to compare it and identify the nest. We love to have birds on our property, and it makes me really happy to know that they have a space that they feel comfortable and safe enough in to build a nest and take care of their babies in. And not to get too sidetracked talking about birds, but my favorite bird and debatably my favorite animal is a hummingbird. It's been a couple of months since I've seen one here on our property, and when I do, it just feels like such a magical moment. They're so vibrant and happy, and I love their chaotic, frenzied energy that they have zipping around the garden, and I really hope I get to see one again here soon. I would love to know if you guys also love hummingbirds. Do you have them where you live? What kind of common birds do you have where you live that you enjoy spotting? Okay, so now let's talk about some of the recent garden updates and what I've been getting up to outside for the past couple of days. I did go to the garden center this past weekend and I was very pleasantly surprised with seeing that they had a sale on pretty much every plant that they sell. And to my surprise and my delight, David Austin roses were one of those plants on sale. And if you've seen my previous videos, you'll know that I'm on a little bit of a rose buying ban for the time being while I try to fine-tune my growing methods. I am trying to figure out how to successfully grow my roses given all of the struggles that I have with pests and diseases on my property. And if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about the issues I've been facing recently with my roses, please go check out my last video where I discussed some of the issues that I'm currently having. But I could not resist a really well-priced David Austin rose. They are quite expensive roses and 40% off is massive. So they had quite a few of the Gabriel Oak variety in stock, which to my knowledge and my memory, which is questionable sometimes, I admit, I do not think that I have ever owned a Gabriel Oak, and it is a gorgeous bright fuchsia colored rose. Right now the plant has many, many roses that have bloomed on it. So hopefully during this video, I'll get the opportunity to take you outside and show you. But right now she is thriving and doing great. So I'm really hoping that I can keep up her health. I'm so happy that I was able to snag her on sale at a great price. I typically buy David Austin roses as bare root plants earlier in the season when they're for sale on their site because they are much more affordable cost-wise, and I think that it gives the rose a really great chance to actually deeply root into your garden and become familiarized with your soil and your soil environment before it starts growing, and just kind of gives it the best chance that it can to mature. So that is typically my preference. However, I do, of course, enjoy purchasing one out in the wild at a garden center as well. And I don't know if any are still available on their website, but I did receive an email from them a couple weeks back notifying me that they are selling 2-gallon roses now on their website. And I don't know if this is the first time that they've done that or if this is a reoccurring thing. I think it's the first time that I've seen them do that, or at least the only time I've maybe noticed them doing that. However, they are cost prohibitive, at least personally for me, because they are $90 a plant, which I will say David Austin roses are special enough to maybe warrant that cost, and a bigger plant is exciting. But for me personally, I like to have a lot of roses in my garden and I could not afford paying $90 per plant. So Unfortunately, I did have to pass on those, and I'll admit it was tempting for me because I did see a 2-gallon Harlow car available, but I could just not bring myself to spend that kind of money on a single plant, especially knowing that come bare root season, they will be available for a fraction of the price, and I could essentially get multiple roses for that $90. And in addition to the rose, I also did pick up a ruby jewel raspberry plant. I believe I've mentioned that in the critter fence, I am trying to put berry bushes back there so that I can have a dedicated edible berry space that is not shared with the wildlife here that love to come and eat the berries. So I picked that plant up, and it is currently planted in the critter fence, and it has a couple of berries on it so far, not many. It's a smaller plant, but I'm very excited about that. I then also picked up 3 different types of annuals to add to my cutting garden in the critter fence. I got some white globe amaranths, and they came in a 4-celled tray, so I have 4 of those. The second annual I picked up are some cosmos, again in a 4-celled tray. So I have 4 of those, and the label on the side said that they were some sort of yellow variety. However, they already had blooms and looked more like the rubenza, kind of reddish fuchsia color. So I really love those, and those are planted as well in the critter fence. And then finally, I grabbed a whole bunch of the mini dahlia plants, which I believe are called the Figaro. I'm not really sure how to say that, but I will leave the name down below. They are a smaller, more petite dahlia plant. And this was a larger tray of 16 individual small plants. And the label on the side also said that they were orange. However, again, I saw certain plants already had blooms on them, and they were a variety of different colors. Okay, this has to be the craziest moment of filming to date that I just mentioned that I haven't seen a hummingbird in months. And I kid you not, guys, I see a hummingbird right now outside wandering around my lilac plants. She's already out of view. She's zipped off somewhere, but that is remarkable, and I feel like that is a sign of good luck for today. That's a good omen. I'm so happy I got to see a hummingbird. I hope I see her again today while we're filming. How amazing would it be to get her on camera? Not very likely, but that was a special moment. So those are all of the garden updates, and I have to say I am incredibly sore from planting all of those the day before yesterday. I think in the garden center, when I looked at them, I thought, oh, they're small, they're not going to take a lot of effort, but the reality is still that there are so many individual plants that you have to dig into the ground to plant. So that was a labor of love, but I'm hoping it will yield a lot of beautiful flowers that we can cut and use for arrangements and different projects. I still can't believe we saw that hummingbird. That's so exciting. Today, I want to try a new recipe that I've never tried before, and it is a berry pavlova. I found the recipe of all places in a Christmas book that I own, and I will show you guys the recipe book a little bit later when we go to make the recipe. But I am excited to try this recipe. I've seen it all over social media recently, and it's really inspired me to give it a try and see what I think of it. So I'm looking forward to trying that out together. And aside from that, let's just get outside and see what fun things we can get up to and say hello to the ducks. As always, thank you guys for being here once again with me, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week. Here is the new David Austin Gabriel Oak rose that I mentioned earlier that I just purchased. Isn't she just stunning? Look at all of these bright fuchsia colored blooms. They are gorgeous. I'm not sure what happened to this one. It looks like she's struggling a little bit, but there's so many blooms on this plant right now. Here's one of those mini dahlia plants that I just got. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick arrangement using the flowers that we just gathered. As you can see, they're already significantly wilted. It's just so hot outside. I have a fresh glass of water filled up, and let's go ahead and get them in the water. Okay, I came in for a couple of minutes to take a quick little snack break, and while I do that, I thought it'd be fun to share with you guys two new snacks I just picked up from a local farm shop that I've never seen before. These are definitely more fancy snacks and they are a little bit pricey, but they are quite special in my opinion, so I'm excited to give them a try and tell you guys what I think. So this is the first one that I picked up, and it is by the brand Wildflower Caramel. And they are seasonal caramels, and the flavor is basil lime caramel, which just sounds super intriguing. I would not think to create a caramel with that flavor profile, but it's got me interested because I love both basil and lime, and I'm just really interested to see what that's going to taste like. So it says on the back that Wildflower is a woman-owned, family-run company with a mission to create unique, incredibly tasty treats, small, delicious surprises that keep you coming back for more. From high-quality, sustainable sourcing of all ingredients to simple, low-waste packaging, we strive for, in both life and business, a model that leaves minimal footprint on our planet and much love for all. So, and look at how cute that little van is on the back. And just adorable packaging. I always love packaging, I can't help it. But there are 12 caramels in here, so let's go ahead and give them a try and see what we think. And just to show you close up what the packaging looks like. Okay, so they're all individually wrapped just like this, and they feel a little bit hard since they've been in the refrigerator. Okay, so here's what the candy looks like up close. Okay, so they are hard. I think I was expecting a soft caramel. Maybe it needs to sit out for a little bit, but these might be like a caramel that you just suck on, like kind of like a Werther's Original type of candy. Okay, so I just finished it, and once they're in your mouth for a little bit, they do soften, so that's nice. I do have kind of sensitive teeth and gums, so I'm feeling a little bit uncomfy right now on the left side of my mouth. Flavor-wise, it had a nice and sweet buttery flavor to it, not overly sweet, which I appreciated. In terms of the basil lime flavoring specifically, if I wouldn't have known that it was basil lime, I don't know that I would have been able to identify that it was. It wasn't a very strong flavor. I did get a little bit of a back of the mouth taste of basil, but not very strongly. So that would be my only criticism, is maybe I was looking for a little bit of a stronger flavoring there, but otherwise, overall, it was a very, very enjoyable flavor and texture, and I will certainly be finishing that bag. It was very good. Okay, next we have one more sweet treat to try, and that is the Lemonade Stand White Chocolate Raspberry Lemonade Bar by Ethereal Craft Chocolate. And it says it's made from bean to bar, so it's kind of a craft or specialty chocolate. And the back of it doesn't really have a bio, but it does say that it's made in Woodstock, Illinois. I don't typically tend to favor white chocolate. I usually am more of a milk to dark chocolate type of girl, but something about the lemonade raspberry sort of flavor to this caught my eye and made me excited to try it. So let's give it a chance. And here's a quick close-up of the packaging. Oh wow, okay, so unfortunately the bar already broke in half coming out of the packaging, but it has these marshmallows in it. I'm gonna bring you up close so you can see this better. So it's a white chocolate bar that has these marshmallows in it, and it also appears to have some freeze-dried raspberries as well. Even though the bar broke in half, I do want to show you the design on the front. Okay, let's go ahead and give it a taste. Interestingly, although it's sweet, it feels like it has a decent amount of salt to kind of counterbalance that sweetness. So I am getting kind of a sweet and salty type of flavor from this. Similar criticism to the caramels. I feel like the raspberry lemonade flavor isn't incredibly strong, and maybe that's just my personal preference. I love sour things. So this doesn't taste as sour as I was expecting from that lemon, but I do get some of the raspberry and I do get a hint of the lemon, but overall, despite that, flavor-wise, this is a great chocolate bar. I am surprised I like it as much as I do, being that it's all white chocolate, but it is very, very good and very interesting. So I did just get a few bites where the lemon flavor was stronger, and I really enjoyed that. I do not know where I'm getting that kind of salty taste from, because I'm looking at the ingredients and I don't see any added salt or even any ingredients that would contain salt. So I'm not sure what's giving it kind of that salty flavor to me. Maybe it's just the almond milk based chocolate. I'm not sure. So anyway, it doesn't really matter, but I do think this is really good. Okay, we're back inside now, and I wanted to show you guys where I'm getting my Pavlova recipe from today. So this is The Christmas Companion by Skye McAlpine, and this is honestly one of the most beautiful books I've ever purchased. I highly recommend it if you are a big festive person and like Christmas decor and recipes. This is a great book for lots of inspiration and delicious recipes. And you might be wondering why we're using a Christmas book for a summer-themed pavlova, and the reason is because simply I remembered that this recipe book had a pavlova recipe in it, and of course it's Christmas-themed, but we're going to work around that. I think the recipe recommends things like pomegranate seeds, but we are going to use some fresh seasonal berries instead. So this recipe is on page 262 of the book, and it's called The Christmas Pavlova. It says it takes about 20 minutes of prep and about 2 hours of baking and cooling. And we need 3 egg whites, a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, 3/4 cups of caster sugar or superfine sugar. Hilariously enough, I knew that I was going to make this recipe and I told myself to get some, and of course I didn't. So as usual, a bit of a tradition here, I'm unprepared. So let's see what happens if we use powdered sugar. 2 cups of heavy cream, and then this recipe recommends cherries, currants, and pomegranate seeds for the festive season, but we're going to be decorating with berries. So it looks like we're going to combine the egg whites, the cream of tartar, and then add in the sugar until we get meringue. And then we're going to spoon that onto some parchment paper and bake it in the oven. Okay, for the next step, we're going to add in the sugar while we continue whisking it. And because I do not have caster sugar, I went to my friend Google and found out that I can use powdered sugar. However, it says you cannot use it as a 1-to-1 swap. So it says you need to increase the amount by 1.5 times. have our meringue, and I've gone ahead and grabbed a sheet of parchment paper, and I traced on the back of this a circular shape with a pot that I had so that I could get that circular wreath type of shape. And then after I drew it, I flipped it over, and you can still kind of see the general shape to guide us when spooning the meringue onto the parchment paper. I'm not sure that there's particularly a clean way to do this, but I'm gonna do my best. Okay, so there is our very rustic looking meringue wreath, super easy to make. And now we want to create a little bit of an indentation along the wreath so that the berries have somewhere to rest in. All right, the oven is set to 275 and we want to go ahead and let it bake for an hour. And then after the hour, we're going to turn the oven off and let it cool in the oven for an additional hour. So 2 hours total. Okay, so while that's cooling, we're just gonna prepare a really simple whipped cream using 2 cups of heavy cream. Okay, so it's been cooling for about an hour, and now I'm going to see if I can carefully transfer it from the baking tray to this marble platter that I have without hopefully it cracking and breaking. We're gonna go ahead and decorate now with the whipped cream and some fresh berries. Okay, so all the berries are on, and now finishing touch, I'm just gonna sprinkle on a little bit of powdered sugar. Okay, I'm really pleased with how this came out. It almost didn't fit on the platter, that was close, and for the first time ever, I've never seen this before, it got stuck to the parchment paper. I've never had a dessert do that before, so I was really worried that we would have a wreath broken into 2 pieces, but it stayed whole, and here is the final result.